Hey guys, in this video, we're going to talk about denaturalization. There are nearly 25 million naturalized Americans, and some of them are genuinely concerned about the prospect of losing their citizenship. I'm doing a new series on denaturalization so that you could understand how this process works and whether or not your citizenship could potentially be at risk. I'm Latoya McBean Pompey, an immigration lawyer in New York, working with clients nationwide at McBean Law, where we believe in freedom, immigration freedom, that is. Contact us if you'd like to go deeper about your immigration case. Now let's get into it. And I'm going to start with the June 11th, 2025 memo from the Department of Justice, which outlines 10 categories of individuals who they will prioritize denaturalizing. Naturalized citizens who pose a potential danger to national security, including through terrorism and espionage. Naturalized citizens who engaged in torture, war crimes, or other human rights violations. Naturalized citizens who furthered the unlawful enterprise of criminal gangs, transnational criminal organizations, and drug cartels. Naturalized citizens who committed felonies that were not disclosed during the naturalization process. Naturalized citizens who committed human trafficking, sex offenses, or violent crimes. Naturalized citizens who engaged in various forms of financial fraud against the United States, including through the Paycheck Protection Program and Medicaid/Medicare. Naturalized citizens who engaged in fraud against private individuals, funds, or corporations. Naturalized citizens who acquired naturalization through government corruption, fraud, or material misrepresentations not otherwise addressed. Naturalized citizens with pending criminal charges if those charges do not fit within one of the other priorities, and any other cases referred to the civil division determined to be sufficiently important to pursue. This is quite the list, friends, and it is very, very broad. Now let's talk about the mechanics of denaturalization. How does this issue of denaturalization begin? It begins typically with USCIS making a referral to the Department of Justice for them to further investigate the matter and begin a judicial process. This judicial process could either be done on the civil side or the criminal side. There are big differences between the two. First of all, on the civil side, there is no statute of limitations, which means that if they're pursuing denaturalization against you, it could date back to something that you did 15 years ago or even 20 years ago when you were applying for naturalization and you omitted or concealed something that is important during that naturalization process, or you lied during that naturalization process 15 or 20 years ago. The civil process can be started. However, naturalization fraud, the crime, has a 10-year statute of limitations on it, and it leads to 10 years in prison if you're convicted criminally for naturalization fraud. I've discussed naturalization fraud in another video. Go watch that video. I'm going to link to it here. So with respect to the criminal side of denaturalization, if you applied for citizenship more than 10 years ago, so before 2015, and you had committed naturalization fraud during that process of seeking naturalization, well, they cannot come after you under the criminal side of things. However, they could still do so on the civil side of things. Now, there has to be sufficient evidence against you to pursue you in the first place. The government must have something. They need to have something that is concrete and something that they could again bring in either the civil proceeding or a criminal proceeding. This all happens in federal district court. After the proceeding has started, you will have the ability to renounce your citizenship and say, you know what, I don't actually want to go through this judicial process, this court process, I'll just sign paperwork to renounce my citizenship. So it could end that way for you if you do not want to put up a fight. After a person has been stripped of his or her citizenship, they go back to the status, the legal status that they had before. So for most people, they will go back to the green card holder or LPR, lawful permanent resident status. Now, for some others, they could actually face deportation if they do not have a lawful status to go back to after they are denaturalized and or they've served jail time if their U.S. citizenship was revoked because of a criminal conviction. The other distinction between a civil process and a criminal process to denaturalize individuals has to do with the level of proof that the government has to show the court to convince the court that you should be stripped of your citizenship. On the civil side, the government has the very high burden of proving by clear, convincing, and unequivocal evidence, which does not leave the issue in doubt that you procured that naturalization illegally or you concealed or willfully misrepresented a material fact during the naturalization process. Again, there's no statute of limitations on this side. And on the criminal side, the government must show proof beyond a reasonable doubt that you violated the federal statute 18 U.S.C. section 1425 because you knowingly obtained or attempted to obtain naturalization through fraud for him or herself or for another individual. On the criminal side, the Supreme Court stepped in 2017 and narrowed the government's ability to convict people for naturalization fraud in the case Maslenjak versus United States, in which the court ruled that only an illegal act that played a role in the person's acquisition of U.S. citizenship could lead to criminal denaturalization. Friends, in my next video, I'll discuss the two grounds that the government can use to pursue denaturalization against an individual. Stay tuned, watch that video and other videos in this series. I hope this was helpful to you. Comment below and be sure to share this video with other people. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.